Hey YouTube, this is Trish, coming at you with another cooking video. We're going to do chili verde in the crock pot. This pork roast is a boneless pork roast. Normally I don't get boneless, which they had a really good deal on this one. This is 4 pounds. Typically I usually get roughly about 3.5, 4 pounds when I make it, because it lasts about 2-3 days. I'll freeze some of it if I have to, but we're gonna cut her in half, and then we're gonna fry her up in the caramelizer with some butter, cayenne pepper, and salt and pepper, and put her in a crock pot. I gotta wash the tomatillos, 2 green chilies. There's some big ones, and some white onions in a pot too, which we'll keep an eye on all that stuff. Get that stuff prepped and ready too, which I'm gonna have to do that stuff first before I do this, because that's gotta boil. So let me move this out of the way. Because I gotta cut up some onions. I'll get a little paper plate. And cut up some of this onions here. I leave them kind of big because they puree up. When I puree them up, they get all small anyway, so it doesn't really make no difference. I can put some in with the meat, which I may do. I gotta take all these bad little edges off, because I don't like that. I don't like that either. So throw away the... I usually use about a whole onion. So I will probably use this half of this onion in the meat. So oh, I forgot to get some butter for the meat. I like to do the meat in butter. I'm doing it in the cast iron again. I know, you know how I am about my cast iron. I love it. So I'm a little fickle about my cast iron. Plus I don't have to use certain utensils with my cast iron that I have to use with my Tefal. Tefal requires different cooking utensils. So, oh, I forgot, this had to be washed out. Lift that out of the way. If nothing else, I'll use that paper plate when I get done cutting on it, to use it for and throw these pieces of onion down the sides here, because I think I'm gonna have to cut the meat. Like I said, I'm gonna have to cut the meat in half. And do that one side at a time, kind of thing, because I don't think that it's going to fit in this pan. And I'll put some cayenne, and that is to taste, because of the fact that in the jalapeños also, just jalapeños and serranos. And then I'm going to add 1 can of the salsa, the jalapenos, that and these, because that's what makes them hot. You want to put that to taste, but I'm gonna take these over to the sink because they have a skin on them. These have to be, the skin has to be taken off. So I have to take it over to this sink and rinse all this off before I can put it in the water. Okay? So let's get her over to the sink. I'll be right with you. Let me move you in front of this meat here so that you're not looking at empty plate. Okay? And I'll raise you up a little bit. And I'll turn the butter down a little bit. While it's doing its thing while I wash the and take the skins off the tomatillos. Because that is one thing that you need to make sure that you do is take the skins off the tomatillos. And any bruising, dirt, debris, any of that stuff. Take it off. Don't leave it on there. Because it doesn't help. There's that damn cuckoo clock. It's going off again. Take all that stuff off. Because sometimes it's sand, sometimes it's actual like bruising. Oh, my husband finally fixed the other clock that will drive us all crazy. Okay, these are all done. Now I can put all these chilies in this water with the tomatillos. Oh, I have to get a bigger pot for these. Goodness gracious. I thought that I had a big enough pot, but I guess not. So let me get a bigger pot. I miscalculated. Usually I'm pretty good at that, but even myself, I make mistakes. Okay, so there's that. Just splattered water everywhere. It's okay. It's just water. It don't hurt nothing. And this one, I think I'm gonna cut it up a little bit. Cause I don't exactly like the way that's looking. Okay. So, gotta put a little bit more water in there. And then get these started. And all that does actually, to be quite honest with you, is helps make the juice for the, because this is the only thing that I use. Sorry about that clicking on my stove. Let me put a little light on the subject here. And let me cut the rest of these onions to go in that too, which I didn't take into consideration either. But I needed to add those onions in there. See? Even teaching y'all, I learned lessons too. Because I didn't think that one completely through. Pan size and things like that. Okay, there's that. Let's get this skin off this onion. And get these ones in there. Okay, that's all good. That's all good now. So, we're good with that. Throw this all in the trash in just a minute. just use a couple napkins for now. Then we'll bring the meat back over. Bring it back down. See, this is why I don't like I usually get it with the bone already in it because I just take the bone out. Because now that little bit of fat I'm going to have to take out. I mean, it's going to cook out nice, so I'm really not that worried about it. Okay. And then, of course, I'll have to clean up that blood that's on the counter. So we're going to move you back over in front of the meat. And we'll raise you back up so you can see how that's doing. I probably am going to have to add more oil or butter to that because pork and chicken are pretty lean meats. So if you're cooking with that, you could run into that problem that I'm running into right now. I'm gonna get a towel. There it is. There, a towel from my hands. And I'll just use some of these napkins to get this. And see, that's why I haven't put that spoon in there, that meat, because of the fact that I had a feeling that I was going to need more butter. And all I'm pretty much doing is just browning it, but I will be putting some salt and some pepper on that meat. And of course, cracked pepper, I think, is the best. That's why I got to put the grinder. And I have it on medium grind, because it's almost like, you know, the thickest next to real super, super coarse ground pepper. Some people put rosemary, some people put thyme, some people put basil. I don't really use any of that stuff. Oh, more pepper. I was trying to pick up the salt shaker and then I added more pepper. Which you never can use enough pepper. And of course, me with my salt shaker without a lid. You know how I am. Okay, now we can turn the meat up a little bit. The vegetables are on. Put the butter away for now. Now the meat looks like it's doing okay with the butter. Got some water. And then I'm going to put this knife in the sink because I'm not going to need it anymore because that's cut down plenty enough that I can cook both pieces now. And the tomatillos, the serranos, and the onions are doing real good. They're starting to boil faster than I thought they were going to, which is great. And then I can show you how to do those. And I do them in a magic bullet. Most people will do them in a blender. You can do them in any kind of food processor. You can do them in... I just wouldn't suggest like a KitchenAid mixer. It has to be some kind of stand-up blender. But you have to be careful too. You have to use caution with that. Put all your vegetables in and then add little water at a time because, yeah, it can be very dangerous. And then I'm going to open this little can and I'm going to put that into the crock pot now because that isn't going to make no bit of difference either ways because it doesn't go in that mix or the meat, the vegetables. They're in. Now I can use the spoon for, and I'll lift you up a little bit more so you can see inside this pot. See, they change a little bit of color. They get, the tomatillos get lighter and the serranos get lighter. Of course, the white onions don't change very much. They get a little bit more translucent, but not much. Okay, so we're gonna go back to this meat. Whoa, got you way high. Okay, so but I like to make sure that all the meat is done and pour this the mixture on top of the meat. Because some people will do it backwards. They'll put all the sauce and then the meat, you know, on top of it. Well, me, I like it the reverse way because then as the meat breaks down, because meat will break down and pork will shred. If you cook and low and slow enough, it will break down on you. Okay. Any kind of meat will actually. Even if you're cooking, say for instance, oh, let me get a pot holder here because I know that cast iron is gonna be hot. Any kind of meat that you cook in the oven or cook anywhere is gonna get it's going to get cooked down. But see right here how it was really pink? Well, this isn't kind of as caramelized as I like it. I'm still going to work on it a little bit more because I don't have it turned up too high because I don't want it to go crazy on me and burn or brown. I just want it to get caramelized, and that's why I use butter. So I'll turn it up just a few more minutes. I'm going to give it a few more minutes. I want to get the other side nice and golden. And then I'll turn it up and I'll brown all 4 sides. I'll have to hold it up and everything. While it's turned up, get all the edges golden brown, and then we'll put the other piece in, and that won't take no time at all. And goodness gracious, these vegetables are going a little crazy here. Going a little bit crazy here. I'll turn those down so they don't get out of control here. Okay. Before the meat gets done, because I thought that they were gonna take a lot longer. Let me get a little sip of water while we're waiting on this meat. This time I made sure I put the light on. And just remember, the time that's on my oven and stove is not the correct time. We had another power outage. I cooked a little breakfast this morning and that's the time it got stuck to, so I just left it. Okay, now I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Okay. And see how the onions are getting all crystallized and caramelized and shrinked up. My husband loves onions that much that those onions, I'm going to leave them just like they are. Typically you don't see that in chili verde either. That's another thing that I do that is not in chili verde, is the big chunks of onions. But I have a husband that likes onions, so of course I'm gonna put make all it, the bells and the whistles and the whole 9 yards for him, because I know how he likes it. It's gonna make me get the sneezing's going on. And you can actually hear things getting a little bit crazy and wild. And some of that's onion, some of it's butter, and some of it's actually the meat. But see, from how it was sitting on its side right here, that caramelization that's going on the side right there. See how it got all caramelized and beautiful right there? I'm going to get that on the other side, and then I'm going to transfer that to the crock pot, and then we'll get the other second piece in. But I'll take out these onions and put those all in there also. And then we'll work on the second piece with just the pepper, the salt, and there's already cayenne in there, but I'll have to cover the meat with salt and pepper again. Okay. And I know like I said, I like to do a lot of oven or crock pot meals. I know I haven't done really any oven meals on here, because most of the meals that I do in the oven, which I got one coming down the pipe, but it's a fairly simple, easy menu item. So I'm still on the fence about it. fold this and see how the onions kind of want to hold on for dear life. Well, they're not. They're going in the pan. They want to stay in this pan, but that's not where they're staying, because they'll get too dark. And a lot of people think that cayenne has like a really smoky flavor to it. And some people will say it's a hot flavor. So it's how your taste buds feel about it. Like some people will say, oh, there's no flavor to it at all. But I don't think that at all. I think there is flavor. Okay. And I'm going to do this one a little bit differently because of the fact that this is hot. And I know this is going to caramelize very, very quickly. You can hear that I'm putting on the pepper. And you can see this, the steam rolling out there. So just be careful when you do this. Whoa. Yeah. Caution. Extreme caution. And my pepper grinder is going out, so I have to charge her up. So I'm going to have to do it this way. I better turn it down. It's making me cough already. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm going to turn off the vegetables for and put the cayenne away because I'm done with that. Oh, I'm dropping stuff everywhere. Okay. Now, you see how much faster that's caramelizing? But even with me turning it down, it's still caramelizing quite quickly. Okay, so you saw me do the first one, so I'll show you how I do the tomatillos, the chilies, and the magic bullet. And then I pour it, and then I would put it in the crock pot until the meat's all ready. And if I have to get a measuring cup to put everything in, then that's what I'll have to do. Okay? So, I'm going to move off the meat, turn off the to turn it down. I'm not going to turn it off. And then we're going to move over here to my magic bullet. And I love this thing. My husband bought me one, and we make smoothies and all kinds of good stuff in there. And I use the same spoon that I stirred it with. And I put everything. Tomatillos, onions, everything in there. Okay? Which I'm going to probably have to put it in a measuring cup. Okay. And it's probably going to get loud for a second. Ouch, it's hot and it's going to get loud. I got to let that cool off because it's going to go a little crazy. This is only about the second time I've used it for hot stuff. And that's why I like it, because it's got a locking device. Whew! Sorry. I forgot you can't hear me over that thing. I tried to hold conversations and it doesn't work. That's why I like this device, because of the fact that it has a locking device on it where you don't have to hold it in place and burn yourself up. But see how much was blended with how much I put in there? I almost filled it all the way to the top. So the only thing that's left is one Serrano chili and onions. Well, if I have to use a colander to strain it out again, I will. But to take this lid off with caution. I'm going to use my towel because it is kind of a little bit on the hot side. And hot to touch. Whew. Yeah. And I'm going to have to water it down because it's pretty thick. That Serrano was trying to run away. You saw that? Okay. And I'm, like I said, I'm going to probably have to mix this with some of this. Because I have to blend the rest of that onions. So let me get a cup with the water. But I'll blend this again to get that last Serrano blended up. Okay. So like I said, I'm going to have to put some in this blender because see how thick it is? It's not as thin as I'd like it to be. So I'm going to put some of this water in here, the rest of the onions, and then I'll mix it all together in this pot, back into the same pot that I, just took it out of. So you can tell that it's hot. Like you can see the steam coming off of that sucker. There's no jokes in cooking. Sometimes things can be just a little bit hot. Okay. So, put that aside, and that makes roughly about 2 cups, which I usually use anywhere between 2 to 4 cups, depending on how big the roast is. For a 4-pound roast, oh, shoot, can't use those now. Even though I washed my counter, I still don't like the idea of it. Okay. Put a little bit of water from here. In there. And then I'll use the strainer again. And strain out any bits that that it didn't come out, okay? Because I'm gonna need quite a bit of this for this amount of meat. And then put this back in this pot. Once I get done, I'll mix this, put it in here, and put it back in there again. Do the same thing, the same process twice, because I want to make sure that there's no residue or no debris of the mix. This stuff, I'm not going to see how it's kind of doing two things. It's kind of cleaning out the inside and getting the last of the bits that are in there. Okay, let me turn this meat off. I've been finishing it up while we've been chatting about the rest of this process, okay? So that you kind of have an idea. Ouch, that was a little bit steamy and hot. Goodness sake. Of how to do this. Okay. And then stir this one around. Stir it around, stir it around, stir it around. And then pour it in here. Okay. And then I'll show you what the inside of this looks like. So you can see the kind of consistency you want, because it's going to get soaked up into the meat. When the meat gets all done, and I'll move her over and see. That's where we're at with that. How I was saying that that's pretty close to being done. I'm on the last bit of that. Okay. But see how I got this one all caramelized and everything on all the ends? I'm on the last bit of it. Okay. Alright. So, I'm going to move you back over by the crock pot. I'm going to show you the fixings inside that. Excuse me. Sorry, all this stuff makes me cough. Okay. That's what it looks like on the inside. And it kind of looks like green enchilada sauce, like chicken enchilada sauce, but it's not. But you can use it for that if that's what you want to use it for. Some people do when they make their own enchiladas. Okay. Now, I'll raise you up, or raise you down. Because I know I love seeing on the inside of the crock pot. Okay. So what I do at this point now is I pour this sauce right smack dab on the top of this meat. And it seems like it wouldn't cover it, but I'll show you in a minute what I'm talking about. Oh, let's put the light back on the subject here, because that helped. Goodness gracious. Okay, now I'm going to show you what it looks like when all the meat's covered, okay? There you go. See? That's how it looks. And then what you do is you move it to your crock pot and you cook it on, if you want to slow cook it and let it just cook all day, no problems, no fuss. Like, go to work in the morning and you know you're going to be home around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and you're leaving about 9 o'clock in the morning. Put it on low and let it just cook the whole time. No problem, no fuss. Well, if you want it done quicker, excuse me, then cook it so many hours on high, so many hours on low. 4 and 4. 4 hours on high, 4 hours on low. Because at the 4-hour mark, you're going to go in and you're going to break up the meat with tongs and a fork, or what I call my fork, which I'm not even sure where that's at. Oh, it's right here. I use this. It's actually for your barbecue, for your steaks and stuff. Well, I stab it, and then I just use my tongs, and I shred it. I don't take an actual knife to it, because I don't want it feeling like I shredded it in purpose. So, mine will go 4 hours on high, then 4 hours on low, because I have to go in and shred it. But at the 4-hour mark, I'll show you what I'm going to do to shred it, okay? So we're done for now. I'm going to put it in the crock pot, and we'll be back at the 4-hour mark.